Good afternoon. Welcome to the our committee night. Before we get started, though, I am going to have Executive Eileen Shapiro come up and provide the council with an update regarding Ohio House Bill 309 and Ohio House Bill 335. Welcome, Executive Eileen.
Thank you, President. Hi, everybody. Going to make it less than enjoyable tonight, but let me tell you what's going on. You're aware that can you all hear me? That there's a citizens initiative to do away with real estate taxes. Are you all aware of that? Okay, which would be devastating in and of itself. I sit on the CCAO board, and maybe 2 weeks ago, Attorney General Yost came in, and he had put it on the ballot, and they're getting petitions signed now. They're out there doing it. And his concern was that he verbalized to us that if it gets on the ballot, it will probably pass, because he's traveled the state, and that's what he's hearing from a bipartisan across the board. So the State House has reacted to that, or somehow reacted to that. And they have put together a package of bills that would eliminate inside millage for all municipalities, including schools and the counties. Folks, this would be devastating. The bottom line is a $40 million hit to our general fund, which is about 25% of the fund. So they're right now, the snapshot in time, they're proposing a 1% increase in sales tax. You all know we have to go to the ballot to approve any sales tax. We're the only ones in the state of Ohio that have to do that. I'm sorry, I got bad notes. The Ways and Means Committee, where this sits, has 4 of our elected representatives that are on that committee, and it is being chaired by Representative Romer. We have reached out to him. We have not heard back. I'm headed to Columbus on Wednesday to give testimony about this. We have also been on the phone with CCAO. Nobody's happy about this. Small counties, large counties, nobody is happy. We do not feel that this is equitable, and it will be crippling to us and to many other communities. So you all know me. I'm not an alarmist, but I'm telling you this is serious stuff, and we need to pay attention to it. I'm also disappointed that the legislature doesn't understand really the smallest percentage of what they pay in real estate taxes goes to the county for operations. We have been doing more with less for years here. We've been financially responsible. We run a great organization. We have good people that represent us here in the county. So it's almost being penalized for excellence. But regardless, the scope and scale of this and the rush to do it, they want to get it in the budget bill, which is the end of this month, folks. So the conversation, the work that's been done has been almost reactionary to it from where I sit. So if this goes through, it would be an immediate hit to all of our public safety forces, to our schools, our municipalities. The numbers, the 40 million is just the tip of the iceberg on it. So we understand that people think their property values are high. By the same token, we don't believe that this is a solution. I don't want to speak for CCAO, but having been on the call this morning with the entire board, I believe that that is the general consensus, that this is not the right solution. We need to be serious about it. We need to figure out how we're going to work together to be able to overcome this and to potentially be able to stop it from going in the budget bill so that there is at least some more time to look at it and work through it. So we're going to talk a little bit more about it, but I wanted to come in myself tonight and tell you this is pretty serious stuff. And you have not heard this from me before. So we appreciate your attention. We may need you to reach out to folks. We don't know yet. So I don't want to have everybody charging out there, but time is of the essence. So we're here to listen to you, to try and answer whatever questions you might have or bring up ideas that you might have. But we wanted you to be very aware of what was going on at the State House, and hopefully we'll have more information soon, especially if they're going to put it in the state budget bill. So with that, questions, thoughts?
You know, when you do read this, it is alarming because so they're introducing that they're wanting to give a 3.5 million property tax relief, and that confuses people because you think you're going to get some type of relief, and then that's how they're going to get it through. They got all these little crazy little.
Well, I think they
you know.
think that will be an offset, and we don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah, but that's going to be confusing to people though.
We're working through the numbers right now, just as we can, but this is a moving target. Liz?
Do we know, is there a standalone bill in the Senate and/or have you heard publicly from the Senate Finance Chair what their reaction is to this?
I have not. Have we heard?
Because this will have to go back to them then.
We expect that it will be introduced in conference committee. So we expect the Senate's version to pass probably likely tomorrow, and the conference committee to start meeting as soon as this weekend.
Have they made public who the list of conference are?
They have, Colleen has the list, so we can share that. Too.
Yeah, I'm happy to put calls in if we can get those numbers.
Representative Sweeney is from the House, and then Hicks Hudson on the Senate side.
Yes, Bethy?
So I'm unclear on the portion that addresses the homestead exemption.
Uh-oh, I need Nelson now. I need Nelson now. Go ahead.
I know in the past, the state has reimbursed us for the homestead exemption, correct?
Yes.
So then, are they saying that this doubled amount of the homestead would be
Yeah,
reimbursed by us fully, or, you know?
the other half. So they will allow us to double it, and then we can reimburse
We get paid for it, yeah.
the difference.
They're
Yes.
not coming up with any money.
Yeah, all of this. They're promising $3.5 billion in tax relief, but they don't have any intention of paying one penny of it out of the state's coffers. Yeah, so just as it relates, so inside millage, first, make sure everybody understands. Inside millage, in the Ohio Constitution, there is a provision that says that political subdivisions have the authority to levy taxes, unvoted taxes, but the value of those taxes cannot exceed 1% of the total valuation of the county. And so then in the revised code, they go on to further define, which is what they call the 10 mil inside millage tax limit. And under that, it's within any taxing authority, which our county is broken up into 80-some different taxing districts. It's where all the overlapping taxes are unique to each one of those districts. There is a 10 mil statutory cap, and the county has 2.2 mils of that 10 mils. Now, not every district in the county has a full 10 mils, but none of those districts exceed 10 mils in unvoted millage. The county-wide, the county collects about $158 million in inside millage. The school districts get about 92 million of that. The county gets 40 million of that. That 40 million is split between $8 million that has been pledged for debt service. So it backs bonds that we have outstanding. 8 million goes there, 32 million goes to general fund operations. The reality is all 40 million of that, we're not going to default on our bond obligations. We're going to have to pay those, but they would come out of the general fund. There's about $15 million that goes to cities and villages, and then the remainder, which I think is about 11 million, goes to townships. They're proposing to keep townships whole. They are proposing that counties would be able to raise the current proposals, that counties could increase their sales tax by an additional 1%, but it has to be voted on, which for us doesn't matter. It'd have to be voted on irregardless.
But I believe, is it 52% of those counties are already at the max?
Yeah, I think over half the
Sales
counties
tax.
are already at the statutory max, so they kind of all end up in the same boat by default, except we're sitting here at 0.5%, having done all sorts of.
I think they raised the max in the bill.
Yes.
I'm sorry,
The people at the max now, the new max,
would get another percent, yeah.
They would, but like us, it would have to be voted on, right?
Well, it's also at the max, so they're going to be going out with, I heard from CCA from across the state this morning, their representatives on that nobody thinks they can get a sales tax passed. They're already at the max and you're going to raise their sales tax.
that might eliminate property tax, and then put a sales tax in.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, and what's interesting when I looked at these numbers, sure, like a 1%, if we could get it passed, would make the county whole, but we would need a 3% increase to be
schools.
able to help out the school districts and all the municipalities that are that are losing money. This bill also eliminates the 20 mil floor for school districts, and will essentially compound those that 92 million gets even worse when you start factoring that aspect of this in.
Let's talk about that for a second, the 20 mil floor.
The 20 mil floor is a mechanism that looks at the total millage assessed and what a school district is assessing, and if I don't know the exact machinations, but what it does is allow their operating levies to be treated like inside millage and grow with the valuation like inside millage does. One thing I would tell you about inside millage, and we had this discussion last year about the fact that our inside millage was growing, and we were going to collect an extra $7 million because of that valuation growth. And I think the response I gave to you guys at the time was, well, our inside millage has essentially declined as valuations dropped and never kept pace with even the rate of inflation. So when it grew last year, all it really did was return us to what an average 3% annual growth rate for 20 years would have looked like anyway. And in the interim, over those 20 years, we collected far less than sales tax certainly would have. So this idea of broadening the tax base and allowing sales tax to replace property tax actually over the last 20 years would have cost taxpayers even more than paying inside millage. The other statistic from that I remember is that value increase was $14 per $100,000 of value on our 30% valuation increase 2 years ago. So we're talking about a fairly small portion of the county's piece of it, of the tax bill. The last thing I would leave you with, which is a two-part, because we have this charter prohibition on raising our tax. You go back to the Great Recession, we had to cut to balance our budget. The largest deficit we ran at that point was in 2009. It was $16 million. We eliminated across the board 1,000 employees from county service. Those employees have not come back. The sheriff's office has been one of which is the biggest general fund budget, has been the one that has been the biggest struggle, I think, in terms of operations, staffing. The $40 million we're talking about, which is all general fund, that is roughly half of our total personnel paid by the general fund. Losing half of our general fund operating personnel money would devastate the entire system, particularly criminal justice, which is 70% of our general fund. So that's why if the legislature decides to sneak this in the middle of the night and put it in the budget, and it goes into effect come January 1, our budget hearings this fall are going to be talking about closing wings of the jail, laying off hundreds of employees, and somehow still trying to do our statutorily mandated services. And that doesn't even get into the federal stuff.
Brian,
The Medicaid.
talk a little bit about the funding timing on it, because there would be a delay even if you could.
Well, yeah, even if we went to the ballot this fall to get something else in place, whether it be a sales tax, property tax, we're talking about there would be anywhere from probably 6 month to a year lag before that money could be
Could ever be
realized
seen here.
by the county. So we don't necessarily have the reserves to absorb a $40 million hit for a year's time. So one of the things we are going to have to talk about is we are going to have to go to the ballot. I just, if this passes,
don't know
I don't
what.
see any way around it. And what that looks like, whether it's property sales, charter changes, I think we're going to have discussions. But I think it's important that voters understand, like, you might get $3.5 billion in savings, but you are going to see dramatic impacts, particularly to public safety in this county.
Can I ask a couple of other follow-up questions? So the Citizens for Property Tax Reform, is that an initiated statute petition or a citizen-led ballot measure? There's no
Citizen-led
way they're
ballot.
making the ballot this year. The deadline for signatures is July 5th, and they need like 400 and some thousand signatures.
Yeah, but they could come back in the fall, they could come back at any time.
You can't, you can only submit, if they're due by July, they could do it next year for sure.
They'd have to start over, yes.
No, you don't start, but if you don't submit, the signatures are evergreen, they can
They're
keep
gone.
collecting. So my other question then is, why is the state, do we have a sense of why the state is reacting so dramatically to something that will be very difficult to achieve from a citizen-led group so quickly, and how they intend to balance the budget, which is their constitutional mandate, should these things go into effect?
I would tell you those are all great questions. This,
Just clarifying that no one's actually thought that through
This,
for everybody.
this hit on our general fund would be every bit as bad as if that ballot initiative were to get on the levy and pass. It wipes out everything that comes to the county general fund.
There was a good amount of conversation on the CCAO call, which was the entire board, so it's a large group of people, about this rush to getting it done, and what's the sense of urgency to be able to do that from small community of counties and large commodities.
Has the governor made a public statement about whether he intends to veto this out of the budget?
I've not heard a word from the governor.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
So
Brandon?
have we heard of any alternatives that are coming in through the House, or?
So the state auditors have put out sort of a menu of recommendations that they have that seem a little bit more phased in, a little bit more reasonable, things that we think, we recognize that the stress on homeowners is real and that attention has to be paid to it, but a more balanced approach, more phased-in approach that doesn't leave schools and communities decimated is probably a little bit more meaningful when it comes to having real conversations about what will solve these problems.
And there were some conversations about caps on things and stuff like, so we're out here beating it around. What we don't know is really where that committee or commission is coming from, okay? And what's driving behind it, other than we believe in general that this initiative, the Citizens-led, has caused the legislature to now pay attention to something that probably should have been addressed a long time ago.
I would just, one last comment and then I'm gonna shut up, I promise. But like, for now, I would just, if anybody is wondering what happens when states do local communities this dirty, go look at what happened in Kansas. And they eventually had to take their school week to 4 days a week. They canceled school 1 whole day a week because they could no longer afford to pay teachers. This is what happens when you take away power from local communities to do what they need to do to fund the basic functions of government.
There's another little piece that,
Eileen, just.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Shapiro, sorry.
That's all right.
Question with regard to other property taxes. Now, with the bill or the citizens-led initiative and then the state bill, how does that impact our levies for ADM, CSB, DD, libraries?
that's
all
where I
those
was
other-
going.
Okay.
Is it 306? Is the Budget Commission?
That's 309.
309, I'm sorry, you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, so amongst the many bills, the one that the executive is going down Wednesday to address is specifically House Bill 309. That bill is being folded into 335. That bill, what they're trying to do with that one is, we have a county budget commission. Everybody submits their tax budget / alternative tax budgets. Here in Summit County, the county budget commission is made up of the county executive, the county fiscal officer, and the county prosecutor. When we talk about, you know, the legislation we bring in to certify the tax rates, the Budget Commission that's responsible for calculating those rates, bringing to us, certifying, and making sure that all of the taxing authorities are not appropriating more money than their tax levies and other resources are going to generate. It also is the mechanism by which, when we brought back a reduction for the DD board, the Budget Commission does have authority to lower millage rates for taxes that are not necessary. Now, I think I told you at the time we brought that in, it's the first time we had ever used that authority, and it was in conjunction with the DD board who was requesting it. So it's what they're doing in this House Bill 309 is basically requiring the Budget Commission that if a school district, for instance, has, is it now 50%? More than 50% reserves, they submit their tax budget, the Budget Commission has to hold a hearing, public hearing, and then decide whether or not to cut their levy. If you folks, as as county council / county commissioners, vote to put a tax levy on the ballot, the Budget Commission has to approve it before it goes on the ballot. And when we're reading some of this stuff and we're like, wait, this is not what the Budget Commission was designed for. It was a check to make sure that that taxing authorities knew what their tax levies were going to generate and were appropriating money within their means, not to lord over their authority to levy taxes. And let's face it, as political representatives, as elected officials, you all have a fiduciary duty to the county. Same with school boards. The Budget Commission, which does not have that same fiduciary authority to all of these taxing entities, at least in my opinion, should not be lording over and telling them they have to cut their tax rates, because we don't necessarily know everything they have going on with bond issuances, future bond issuances, contractual negotiations. I think they're trying to make a scapegoat to sit in the middle and have forced these public debates amongst a group of 3 elected officials. And quite honestly, we historically here, and I think in most counties, have always had alternates that sit in, staffers. I have, Phil has for the executive on the Budget Commission reviewing all this stuff. So it seems to me they're chasing after all sorts of ideas that, you know, are just going to create havoc, and in many cases put us in the middle of everybody's problems.
So, sorry to be the bearer of such unhappy tidings, but it's a work in progress. It would be our hope that we would be able to, not just Summit County, but the counties across the state would be able to communicate to our state representatives some options and some other things that might be more thoughtful and more positively impactful. I can't promise you that. I can just promise you we're all out here swinging, try to get that across. I will also tell you, today, we don't know what to tell you. We just want you to know, okay? But I will tell you the 4 members of that committee are Representative Romer, Jack Daniels, Steve Demetrio, and Derek Hall that sit on the group, is it a commission or county? Ways and Means Committee that is in front of. Okay, these are our people, folks. So, want to thank you for your time and your attention, and more to come. Yeah, John.
Thanks, Eileen. This is obviously going to be devastating if it passes to the cities, villages, and townships.
The villages, the townships, I'm sorry, they're talking
townships
about excluding them.
That is amazing. I will be urging my constituents not to sign the petition, that it's a trick, that it will devastate our communities, our counties, our school systems,
That's
our
correct.
villages and cities.
I would agree with you.
So that's what I'm going to be doing, is to urge my constituents
In the short term.
to not sign this petition.
We would also like to see, and we don't have a laid out plan yet, this not be in the budget. The consensus today on CCAO is the budget's this month. So we would very much like them to push that back and do it as a separate bill or whatever. So more to come on how you can action, but those petitions are out on the street, John, you are correct. And I don't mean this to be sarcastic, pick your poison, because both of them are poison pills, folks.
If I could ask a question, and my apologies for being late. So it seems to me there's if I'm understanding what I caught having been late, and again, my apologies. This could be snuck into the budget at any time between now and budget time. Or the option is, or the other opportunity, if you want to call it that, is this petition drive has to get it on the ballot for statewide approval. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I mean, there's two.
Kinda.
There's really a third option, which is much, much better, which is to let's slow down here.
Take a breath.
Yeah, on sneaking this stuff into the budget bill with no debate, and have some hearings on these separate pieces. The signature-led petition thing is a completely separate, and it is far more draconian than what the legislature's doing.
But the legislature isn't a reaction to that.
Yeah.
Because they're afraid it'll pass. I'm sorry, Brian.
Yeah, no. So, again, the executive's going to testify in the Ways and Means Committee on Wednesday. A group of us will be traveling down there with her. We'll see what the conversation, dialogue. Obviously, we've been talking to CCAO, our lobbyists, the other counties. We will, there's pretty good chances we're going to be asking you folks to sign on to letters of resolution along with the school districts, the municipalities. The biggest thing right now is getting the word out about how detrimental this could be.
That's why we're here tonight.
To everything from education, road and bridges, police and fire levies, and in our case, the criminal justice. I mean, all the courts, the sheriff's office, the prosecutor's office, like the idea that we could take anywhere from 25 to 50% cuts in these areas is just, I don't know how we do it.
Have we taken the $600 million handout? Did Jimmy D. Haslam out of the budget yet? perhaps?
As far as I know, that's still,
Sorry.
yeah.
On the Haslam note, I'm going to leave. If you can, we will be back in touch. Just wanted to put this on your radar and say we will be putting things together with suggestions and recommendations. We'll see what comes out of Columbus, but we don't have a long lead time on this, so we wanted to give you a heads up. So as always, we appreciate your engagement and your support and your confidence. So thanks,
Executive,
everybody.
I made a note not to invite Councilman Walters just yet.
Just yet.
To any of
Okay.
these hearings. I'm sure you will.
Thank you, everybody. Have a
Thanks,
good night.
Eileen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian, I think what this means for us locally, I mean, you see what's happening nationally, and you think to yourself, what can I do? What can I do nationally? This is going to affect us right here, right under the ground we stand on. So whatever we do communication-wise, every one of you in this room has a responsibility to turn this around. Every single one of you. It cannot just be the 11 people on this dais. We can only take it so far. You have social networks. You have associations. You have people that are going to be financially impacted, educationally impacted, humanely impacted by this. Every one of us has a responsibility to help this lady right here with her testimony, and as a collective community, make it understood in Columbus, enough's enough. Enough is enough. John, you got upset last week about the federal, and you were so right. This is now our backyard. They're coming after us. And if we don't understand that going through, and we joke about it, but if we're okay with someone taking $600 million of our tax money for a football stadium, and we're not going to be able to keep that man over there out protecting the community, or the children that are in our community from going to school 5 days a week, maybe they have to go 3 days a week. I don't know what it'll be. But you guys, we are in this by ourselves, and we have got to make it clear that the people in Columbus, they may be 100 miles from here, but they're still they're a part of this community. And we've got to get it through our heads that we can't put our heads in the sand and expect it to just pass along, and Brian and team and Eileen and team and everybody are just going to take care of it. They need our help. So this is a warning for all of us, and I'm telling you, and you can disagree with me, and you can call me anything you want, but what I'm telling you is we have got to make this go away.
Thank you. Brendan, you're on.
Good evening. The time is 5:01, and I'll be calling the Public Works Committee meeting to order. 2025-163 is a resolution authorizing the executive to advertise for bids for the Valley View Road resurfacing project located in Sagamore Hills Township in Council District 1 for an estimated total cost not to exceed $1,409,424.66 for the engineer and declaring an emergency.
Thank
Hi,
you. Heidi Swindell, Summit County Engineer's Office. This portion of Valley View got a lot worse over this winter. We have federal funding for it, so we went to AMATS and asked if we could please move it up a year, if we could have the funding earlier. They said, yes, they can do that. So this wasn't part of our capital budget, but now we want to get it done this year. So we need authorization to advertise that. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from committee? Questions from council members?
I'll move on to that, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion from Councilman Schmidt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 2025-164, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a construction contract with JD Stripping and Services, Inc. for the 2025 Regional Pavement Marking Program in an amount not to exceed $265,383.57 for the engineer and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is our regional pavement marking program. Looks like Springfield, Lakemore, and Sagamore Hills are also joining us on this contract. The county share of it is $246,000. We got 4 bids in, and JD Striping out of Ravenna was the lowest bidder. Happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from committee members? Any questions from council members? May I have a motion? A motion from Councilman Lacotte. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 2025-165, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of the construction contract with Protect-A-Coat, Inc. for the 2025 Summit County Regional Crack Sealing Program in an amount not to exceed $118,162.13 for the engineer and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. I think this might be our last regional pavement maintenance program contract to do this year. This is for crack sealing. Twinsburg Township and Lakemore are joining us on the contract. The county share is about $52,000 of this, and Protect-A-Coat out of Cleveland was the lowest bidder.
Any questions from committee members? Any questions from council? May I have a motion?
I'll move.
A motion from Councilwoman Dickinson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
2025-166, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of agreement for the acquisition of a temporary construction easement and the purchase of real property located at 299 East Howell Road for project Q836-1 pump station number 82 replacement and force main replacement for an amount not to exceed $2,139 located in the city of Talmadge in Council District 6 for the Executive's Department of Sanitary Sewer Services and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Chair. Michael Vinay, Summit County Department of Sanitary Sewer Services. These 2 easements are necessary for our Pump Station 82 rehabilitation project. Both pieces of property were, price was obtained through an appraisal, and we are paying fair market value for both. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from committee members? From council? May I have a motion? A motion from Councilwoman Hyam. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And I'll conclude the Public Works Committee meeting at 5:05.
Planning and Economic Development will open at 5:05. Our first tonight is 2025-167, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a construction contract with Summit Construction LLC for the Summit Art Space renovations project located in the city of Akron in Council District 4 for an estimated total not to exceed $892,000 for the Executive's Department of Administrative Services physical plants and declaring an emergency.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I just want to jump in. We have Natalie Patrick is here from Summer Art Space to talk a little bit about this project. I think she was going. Yep, there she is.
Oh, great. Okay.
Just wanted to invite her up to just to say a few things about
Sure.
the project, if I could.
Come on
Thank
up,
you.
Natalie.
Okay. Okay. So Craig Stanley, Executive Superior, Department of Administrative Services. We sent out 8 bid packages. 4 bids were returned. Summit Construction was the low bid, coming in $15,000 underneath our engineering estimate, which is a good thing. And this is basically an HVAC and electrical, stuff like that project. So.
Great. Thank you. Natalie, will you tell us who you are for the record, too, please?
Yes. So, hello. My name is Natalie Gracehammer Patrick. I'm Interim Executive Director at Summit Art Space. And so I just wanted to say a few words about how this construction project would benefit Summit Art Space. This project, including updating HVAC, replacing doors, and adding restrooms, will be transformative for the nearly 100-year-old building that Summit County allows us to reside. The updates will help the building be more comfortable and welcoming for 30 artists and artists organizations in the building, as well as nearly 10,000 visitors annually. Local artists deserve this investment through Summit Art Space, an anchor arts organization specifically dedicated to resourcing local artists. And the county's leadership will serve as an example for other community funders and stakeholders to also invest in local arts and the spaces they show their work and their art.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any questions for Craig? Do I have a motion? A motion from Ms. Hyam on 2025-167. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Thanks, Natalie. 2025-168, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a construction contract with Wayne Garage Door Sales and Service, Inc., DBA Michelli Glass for the medical examiner's 2-story curtain wall replacement project located in the city of Akron in Council District 4 for an estimated total cost not to exceed $385,332 for the Executive's Department of Administrative Services physical plants. Craig?
Again, Craig. So we sent out 7 bid packages. We only got 1 back. It came in $15,000 underneath the estimate. The problem with this one is because it's mostly a glazing project, right? So it's mostly glass, and it's going to be difficult and stuff. And I think we asked some other folks that bid, and they said they were a little leery on this project, but he also had a lot of work out there and stuff. So we were really happy that this one came in, and it's a solid company under the bids, under the estimate, rather.
Any questions? Ms. McKinney?
So the curtain wall is basically the wall of the building. Okay, so we're going to remove several of those around the building that have leaked for a long time and put in new ones and stuff and stop the leak. Okay. Yeah, no worries.
Anybody else? I have a motion from Mr. Wilhite on 2025-168. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. 2025-169, a resolution authorizing the executive to advertise for bids for the Summit County Jail Windows Project located in the city of Akron in Council District 4 for an estimated total cost not to exceed $369,000 for the Executive's Department of Administrative Services physical plants and declaring an emergency.
So this is basically to caulk and seal up and repair every window in the jail. This is a project that we've been wanting to do for a while, and there are a lot of windows there and stuff, and it'll keep the water from coming in and doing damage over time to the block and stuff like that. So
It's hard to believe the windows are still original to the
yeah,
build.
I know, right?
Anyone have questions? Mr. Kajan, do you want to move on this? I have a motion from Mr. Kajan on 2025-169. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. 2025-170, a resolution approving and accepting a subdivision titled Sunset Drive Extension located in Copley Township in Council District 5 for the Executive Planning Commission and the engineer and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Heidi Swindell, Summit County Engineer's Office. I learned about it this time. So, this is Sunset Drive Extension is a plat. It brought Sunset Drive all the way through, so it created the rest of that road. The right-of-way for that road. It extended storm sewers, and it created 3 lots back there. Lot number 1 is where Copley built their new safety services building. And then there's 2 other lots that are currently empty, but also owned by Copley Township. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Ms. McKinney?
It is right at the intersection of Cleveland Maslin and 162. So it's a very busy area where that Circle K is on the corner, and this is just coming in behind it. Residents don't care at all since it's already, and Copley Township is the one who wanted it, the trustees. They're building there. So everybody's happy with it.
Do you want to move on that? Sure. I have a motion from Ms. McKinney on 2025-170. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heidi. Planning and Economic Development will close at 5:12.
And at 5:12, we'll open the Public Safety Committee. First and only item is 2025-171, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of professional service contracts with various providers of delinquent care and custody grant services as listed in Exhibit A for the period 7/125 through 6/30/26, in a total amount not to exceed $644,250 for the Court of Common Pleas Juvenile Division, and declaring an emergency.
David Horner, Summit County Juvenile Court. These are the court's annual delinquent care and custody grant list of providers. They provide youth mentoring, youth assessments, out-of-home placements, and program evaluation. All of the contracts have been approved by the Ohio Department of Youth Services, and this is for state fiscal year 26, beginning July 1st. Are there any questions? Yes.
David, can you tell me what a human trafficking mentoring center is and what it does?
Of course, I do not have that. We do have a human trafficking specific docket that's been approved by the Ohio Supreme Court for human trafficking, a specialty docket. So that is, every week the participants come in and are evaluated.
Thank you.
But I do not know specifically about a mentoring. Okay. All right.
Any other questions? Do you have a motion? Motion by Councilman Lacotte. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will close public safety at 5:13.
The Rules Committee will come to order. We have one resolution to consider this evening, 2025-172, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of change order number 1 to a professional service agreement with Manizak, Raskin, and Ryder, LPA, in an amount not to exceed $100,000 for a cumulative increase of 133.33%, for a total amount not to exceed $175,000, toward the cost of continued legal representation and services on behalf of the county in the matter of the estate of Ryan Peterson versus Oriana House, Inc. et al. For the executive and declaring an emergency.
So this is a case involving an estate of a person that passed away in Minnesota. It is against Oriana House, Community Support Services, and the county, and they named many of our individual employees. We have 8 so far that have been dismissed. We're asking for this change order that'll cover us for the really the remainder of the litigation. So I'll take any questions.
Questions from members of the committee, members of council, the public? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move.
John Donofrio moved on the resolution. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there any other business to come before the Rules Committee?
Mr. Chair.
And we're adjourned.
I'll open the Health and Human Services Committee at 5:15 PM. We have one item, 2025-173. Excuse me. A resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of professional service contracts between certain providers and the Executive's Department of Job and Family Services and the Summit Medina Workforce Area Council of Governments to provide in-school and out-of-school youth employment and educational services under the Comprehensive Case Management and Employment Program for the period of 7/1/25 to 6/30/26, with 3 options to renew for a 1-year term in a total amount not to exceed $2,250,000 for the Executive's Department of Job and Family Services and declaring an emergency. Heather.
Good evening, Heather Yannion, Department of Job and Family Services. This is our BOSS program that we hear about. So every 4 years we have to go and re-procure our provider contracts in joint with the Medina Workforce Area. This year we went through the RFP process. This is for our year-round employment programming for both in-school and out-of-school youth, aged 14 to 24, but the focus is really 16 to 24. We have recommended 2 providers, Tri-County Jobs, also known as JOG, and the United Labor Agency, ULA. JOG will be the main vendor and will serve in-school youth and a large number of the out-of-school youth. And we're proposing of the $2,250,000, $1,650,000 would go to them. United Labor Agency will serve the TANF OWF clients on cash assistance that are aged between 16 and 24, and that we are asking for $250,000 for them. The contract year will start July 1st through June. It's on the state fiscal year. Just so you guys know, for this current program year from July 1/24 through March of 25, so in a 9-month period, this program so far this year has served 923 youth. 690 of them are TANF funded, 198 are WIOA funded, and 35 are co-funded. So of those, 46% are between the ages of 16 and 18, 26% of them are between 19 and 20, and then the rest of the ages through there. I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from members of the committee?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Brandon.
So how do the youth that get involved in the program, how do they find out about it? How are they identified, et cetera?
Yeah, so there's several different ways. The youth that are in school, we actually have our contract providers in the schools. So we have JOG staff that is look at all Akron public schools plus several of the other municipality school districts. In addition to that, we do recruiting through every county agency. We have a good partnership actually with juvenile court. And we do a lot of advertising for the BOSS program. So any youth that is interested in the program can contact us, either email, website, or phone number. We tell them about the program. And then see if it makes sense. The thing with this program is it isn't a short-term summer program. It is a commitment, and the majority of these youth are in this program for 2 years to provide intensive case management. The whole purpose of this program is to hopefully get those employment fundamentals and help them build those skills so that they don't end up on long-term public assistance. So we try to get them early in the school system. And then we do work with the out-of-school youth, which are the ones that, an out-of-school youth is any youth that is not, did not successfully graduate. So if they dropped out or are 18 and over and didn't, accomplish that merit. So we also try to bring them back in and get them back on the right playing field. So,
Would you serve more kids if you had more funding? Is there a market for it? It's like a waiting list?
Yeah, so we obviously, if we had more funding, we could. This year, we've served by the end of the program year, we'll be over 1,000 youth. This current year that we're looking to, in addition to just the providers, we issue incentives to the youth for accomplishing graduation. If they meet different goals, they get youth. And the program has exploded. We actually have spent more money this year in our program than we have ever. Historically, when this program got started, Mr. Montgomery can attest, we had a hard time spending this money, and now we're spending out of it, and now we're actually getting extra from counties that are underspending. Unfortunately, I think we're going to try, so due to all of the uncertainties about the government, we're going to try to keep it about 850 so that we don't have to look at our regular TANF allocation to backfill. We're going to have to keep it all contained within the special CCMEP allocation that's coming up this year. But yeah, there's definitely a demand for it. And our two providers and do a really good job. And then my manager who is over the program, you know, she works extensively with the school districts to keep those relationships going. So.
Just one quick question.
Yeah.
Is there any analysis done as far as how many of those kids that we work with in that 16 to 24 stay out of public assistance for a period of time?
We do, so because this is a joint WIOA, there are performance measures. So there are things that we look at, like so many months after exit, of whether or not they're still employed. If those things now long-term, I don't know if we have those studies, but we do have the typical WIOA performance measures of, I think, 12 months after exit and 24 months after exit. And it is a pretty successful program. Reaching those youth, especially the in-school youth, before they get out of school really sets them on a track. And we can use some of those activities that we work with them for their work-based learning hours in the Akron Public Schools. So we can, when they do these employment opportunities, it actually counts towards their graduation, which is awesome. The out-of-school youth, it's a lot harder to engage with, but we have gotten really creative. We're working with coaches. We're doing different things, finding kids where they're comfortable and then trying to, you know, build that trust. And that's the one nice thing about our providers, especially JOG, you know, they do have a big trust in the community. And so they really build those relationships with the youth.
Heather, if I could ask, the funding for this program
Mm-hmm.
comes from federal, state,
It's
local?
it's ODJFS provides us the funding. It's a joint of state and federal, and it's a special allocation. It's the CCMEP. TANF and CCMEP WIOA. So they're both, the WIOA money comes through the COG, the TANF money comes through JFS. We co-procure it and blend them on the back end.
And with what, and with what?
Sorry. They know all that stuff, and I'm like, I can, so.
Multiple choice? Yeah. So base,
Yeah, sorry.
so my question is,
Workforce dollars and TANF dollars combined.
so my question is, based on our discussion at the beginning, if the General Assembly gets their way, does this funding get cut as a result of that activity? Okay.
That'll get cut by somebody else.
That's somebody else, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they'll cut it, it just won't be our responsibility.
Yeah.
Because they can't fill their budget holes, so that's what'll go on the chopping block.
Well, listen, my only point in asking that question, and if people are irritated with me for asking this question, you'll get over it. But the point is that it's these kinds of programs that have a positive impact. And I want everybody to understand, the message that you send, if we stop doing this, is we send the message to our young people in particular, we don't care. Good luck. Do whatever you can for the rest of your life. But this is what a community is. And it is the quality of life that we provide those folks. And as long as I'm allowed to have a microphone on, I'm going to keep saying this. You guys might get tired of it, but understand this is exactly the point we're trying to make. You guys, we need you, we need you, we need you. Heather, you do a great job, and thank you for everything
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Given everything Jeff said, I forgot where I was going. Jeff,
Well, hopefully it's
got me
positive.
on. It was. Yeah, I didn't want any acronyms. It is a successful program. We want to make sure it keeps happening. I think what the only thing Jeff didn't say is it's a can't afford not to program. It's cheaper to do this than it is to fund people for the rest of their lives. And so I'm wondering, I guess, to follow up on that, can we have the data on the success rates and things like that? Because I think that obviously helps us in our jobs as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can get the performance
And
measure data.
long-term follow-up obviously helps us sell these programs to the public.
I can reach out to ODJFS and see if they have any of the long-term information, and I can give you the most recent performance measures.
Thank you.
In addition to that, just so you know, we do have benchmarks that we do have to meet standards, and Summit County has, for the last 2 program years, have exceeded those standards of those kind of follow-up benchmarks, so that's been great.
Any other questions? May I have a motion on 2025-173? Mr. Ford moved on the resolution. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
You could go.
I didn't close, all right. All right. I'll open up finance at 525. We have 3 items. 2025-174, a resolution determining the necessity and authorizing the execution and delivery of a second amendment to the bond purchase agreement relating to the $21 million County of Summit, Ohio healthcare facilities refunding and improvement revenue bonds, Series 2015 Village at St. Edwards project, and authorizing and approving related matters for the Executive's Department of Finance and Budget, declaring it an emergency.
So I'll just open this up because I'm not bond counsel. I've got bond counsel right behind me. This is first appeared in front of council as bond issuance back in 2015. And then again, the parties decided to amend and extend that tender 5 years, and now we've come up again. It's important to note that the county only serves as a conduit, and this is not a debt that the county is taking on. We're just kind of the middleman. I don't know if that's a good way to describe it. So in that function, we're asking, or the parties here are asking, to extend that bond again for a certain period of time. They're going to adjust the rates and so on with it. Now, let Ben take over from there.
Thank you, Brian. Ben Quito, Ice Miller, we are bond counsel in connection with the financing, and we're in 2015 and for the extension in 2020. As Brian mentioned, so this is a longer-term bond. The final maturity is actually in 2042. The lender and St. Edward Home have entered into an agreement to extend what was a 5-year extension from 2020 to 2025 through 2028. So they have a 38-month term for this extension, switching into a variable rate from the fixed rate that they're in now. That's the reason for the amendment. The other documents that are being approved are things in line with a new bond to match those terms, and then notice to the IRS as required under the federal tax regulations. And happy to answer any questions you might have.
Committee questions? Council questions? Do you have a question? Can I have a motion? Councilwoman Walters moves on 2025-174. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is
Thank you.
2025-175, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute a grant agreement with the Akron Art Museum for sponsorship of the Idea Machine exhibition for a 2-year period in the amount of $100,000 per year, for a total amount not to exceed $200,000 for the executive, and declaring an emergency.
So, good evening, Council. John Fumey, Director of the Akron Art Museum. I do have handouts. I'm going to ask Councilwoman Hyam to split those for me. All right. Thank you. I appreciate your time this evening, and I certainly appreciate the consideration of sponsorship of the Akron Art Museum's Idea Machine. So this is going to be very exciting. As a review, it's a creative, immersive space where people of all ages can step into the mind of an artist, not just look at art, but engage with it, make it, and shape their own creative journey. So as being a modern contemporary art museum, the museum itself is looking beyond just exhibitions on its walls and its galleries, and looking for additional ways to engage the residents of Summit County. This is an interesting space because visitors will be able to interact, play, experiment, and create. As I've mentioned, it's going to be hands-on, multi-generational, which is great. It's not just for kids, but for people of all ages. And it's going to fit as part of our renovation of the 1899 building, which many of you know is Akron's original post office. And that renovation is hopefully beginning next month. So the Idea Machine itself will be one of the most visible and vibrant hubs within the new building. So when people enter into the lobby, they'll be able to immediately see that there's some activity happening. The space will be designed by artists. Each exhibition in this space will run for approximately a year. There will be tools and materials provided for creative exploration, and certainly a place where art and play meet and where imagination leads the way. So we want to, again, if we're talking about how to help the youth, we're talking about how to mental health improvement, things of that sort. This will be another one of those tools in that toolbox. So certainly, we're not asking for support to construct the space. That's already part of our renovation budget, but we are seeking the sponsorship for exhibition design, the installation, the interactive programming that will come with that, and then, of course, staffing to run and sustain the experience. So the impact that we anticipate is eventually 100,000 visitors each year. And certainly that's thousands of family, students, and curious minds coming to the museum. So we all know the simple formula that more foot traffic is more vitality for local businesses, all that good stuff. And certainly it's, one of my personal goals and that of the team actually is that with this renovation and specifically the Idea Machine is that we hope to attract people from all over and make it another reason why it's really important to visit the Akron Art Museum. So. Any questions?
What fund will this come out of?
It's going to come out of the general capital fund.
Okay. And then, John, how often is the what's the accessibility for this? Like, how often can residents of the city access something like this for free?
So it'll be operating, accessibility-wise, it'll be operating every hour that the museum is open. So it'll be part of the experience in general. And currently, the museum is free on Thursdays. And then throughout the year, we have family days and other program days that allow for the museum to be free. And we're also working with another corporate sponsor to make potential other members of their organization free as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Mr. Ford moves on 2025-175. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Last item is
Thank you.
2025-176, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a purchase contract with Guide Point Security LLC as best practical source for Arctic Wolf risk management software for a 3-year term from 8/23/25 to 8/22/28 in an amount not to exceed $191,016 for the Office of Information Technology and declaring an emergency.
Stephen Byrne, Office of Information Technology. So this is a piece of software we put in place last year. This helps essentially do internal penetration testing in our environment. Gives us nice reporting on all the security concerns within our environment. Gives us a nice scale, and in some cases even gives remediation steps. So very happy with the software and the vendor. We're looking to put in a 3-year contract, save a little bit of money on the long term.
Council questions? Committee questions? Okay. Councilman Wilhite moves on 2025-176. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thanks.
Motion carries. And I will close out finance at 5:33.
I'm going to open up the committee of the whole at 5:33. Before we get started, I have a amendment on resolution number 2025-177. May I have a motion on that amendment? All in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Resolution 2025-177, an amended resolution determining to proceed with the submission to the voters of the County of Summit the question of the renewal and increase of an existing tax levy for the purpose of mental health and recovery programs for children, adults, and families for the county service district, and for the acquisition, construction, renovation, financing, maintenance, and operation of Summit Alcohol, Drug, Addiction, and Mental Health Services, ADM Board facilities, and declaring an emergency. Tonight, the fiscal office was going to come up and talk to us about this, and also we do have Amy Wade with the ADM and her team here.
Yeah, well,
In support
let
of
me,
this?
I'll kick this off. Amy, why don't you come on up? So we started the night on property tax. Why not finish it on property tax? This is not inside millage. This is a voted levy, so it will not be impacted by what's currently being discussed in Columbus. This, as I know you're aware, we previously submitted a declaration of necessity. It was approved by council. The fiscal office that then did the calculations to essentially fill in what goes on to the ballot. And we did have an error. Fiscal's here to explain. It was a math calculation error, but that's been rectified. So we've changed the $90 for each $100,000 to 75, which is the correct amount. And then with that, I'm just going to turn it over to Amy to talk about the next 6 years and what we're going to do with, or what the ADM board, and many of her board members are here as well, but what the plan is.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brian. Thank you very much, Council, for having me this evening. We've been in dialogue and conversation with our system and providers, and thank you to County Council members who have also engaged in that dialogue. I can tell you that our board did not take it lightly to make this recommendation. We went through several different scenarios, understanding the climate and all of the things you heard from the county executive. From our perspective, we are facing those challenges as well. We have not come to the taxpayers for an increase since 2007. And again, myself and my board do not take this lightly for this ask, but in the light of the threats to the funding for behavioral health, we felt it necessary to ensure that we did not have lapse in mandated and prioritized services for this community. I can tell you, Councilman Wilhite, that we are in that advocacy stage as well. I was just recently elected as president-elect for our state association, and we are engaged in those discussions and advocating and working alongside our other county associations. So we're all in it together, and if there's other ways that we can contribute locally, please let us know. My board of directors also offered that at our last board meeting in May. I will also mention that and acknowledge that I do have board members in this room. This is just how passionate that our system and your appointed representation feels about moving forward and the need. So if I could recognize my board of directors who are present, we also have, please stand. We also have staff in the room, and we have representation from our system and our network of providers. We are in this together. We are walking steady, and I please ask you all for your support as we have this very important ask of our community as we walk through this process towards the ballot on November. And I'll entertain any questions that you have.
Jeff?
I want to take the opportunity to thank Amy and the members of the board over the last couple of years, but in most recently the current year. I was very tough on ADM for a lot of different reasons, and I want to thank the executive and her staff for working with us. And as Amy said, we're all in this together. I want to make the public statement that I fully endorse the ADM levy going forward. I appreciate the dialogue that we had, and I appreciate the direction that's moving forward in. So I want to offer my personal thanks to everybody that listened and that addressed the issue at hand. And Amy, I think now more than ever, based on what we heard at the beginning of this, any of our local levy-supported entities need all of our support, 100%. I say we're in this together, and I truly mean that from a local level. It really bothers me that we decide here locally how we want to spend our money, and for someone else to tell us how we can and can't spend that just goes the wrong way. So thank you all for the deliberation and moving forward in a positive way.
Any further questions? Thank you, Amy. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks for all that work.
Absolutely. Thank you.
May I have a motion on resolution number 2025177? I think Mr. Schmidt beat you to it. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. And I believe, I'm going to close.
Madam President,
Oh.
before we adjourn, one quick thing. I was just looking at my calendar, so this is last minute. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, a number of us from the executive's office are going out with the land bank to do a substantial completion tour out at the new Board of Elections facility. So I would invite any of you, if you can make it. Are you guys okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. Never mind then. Hope
I'm
to
going
see you there.
to close committee as a whole at 5:40. 5:40.